Hello MotoGP fans. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. At Aprilia's 2026 presentation in Milan, Max Biaggi, ambassador and one of motorcycling's fiercest voices, offered a wide-ranging take, memories from his own career, a taste of pure speed, thoughts on championships, and a measured read on Marc Márquez and Aprilia's identity. Valentino Rossi calls MotoGP 2026 a transition year. Engines mostly frozen and factories already eyeing 2027, but warns that the calendar can still deliver surprises. Rossi singled out underperformers from 2025 like Pecco, Bagnaia and Jorge Martín as riders who could bounce back, and urged his VR46 squad to turn consistency into results. Pedro Acosta's manager has confirmed what the paddock has been whispering: joining VR46 for 2027 remains a live option. But the priority is clear. Acosta and his team want a factory seat first. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Biaggi began by clearing up one often-repeated question: did he ever race for Aprilia in MotoGP? The short answer was no. His top-level path took him through other factories at the moments that mattered. He did, however, test an Aprilia many years ago and keeps a wistful openness about the machine. That mix of professional focus and later curiosity is typical of Biaggi, a rider who made firm choices in his career and now looks back with both pride and a readiness to consider new challenges, even joking that a modern return might be physically feasible. I tried an Aprilia a long time ago, but I haven't ridden one in the last 10 years. The line speaks to perspective, a champion's selective past, and the playful possibility of future experiments. From career reflections, Biaggi moved to extremes of speed. He contrasted MotoGP's sprint to 320 to 330 km per hour with his electric bike record of 470 km per hour, an experience that changed his sense of what speed feels like. In MotoGP, the rush is paired instantly with the next corner and the competitor beside you. At top speed record runs, it's a more solitary, unnerving dimension. Biaggi described the point where stability breaks as entering an unknown world. A candid admission that even the boldest riders meet limits that are more psychological than mechanical. When you see the speed increase and the instability set in, you're in an unknown world. That moment, he says, separates dare from design, an insight that applies whether you're chasing records or championships. Biaggi weighed up what titles mean in a career built on risk and precision. For him, championships always count. They're the durable measure across seasons, circuits, and luck. That led naturally to a question about Marc Márquez. After an extraordinary return to dominance, what next? Biaggi steered away from certainty but offered a provocative thought. If Márquez secures a 10th crown, his priorities could shift, suggesting that the calculus of risk, legacy, and motivation may evolve once the highest summits are reached. Now he could be aiming for his 10th world title. If he achieves it, perhaps his priorities will change, or perhaps he will still be hungry for competition. It's a reminder that even the greatest careers are shaped by their final chapters as much as by their peaks. Finally, Biaggi touched on national identity, and made a headline-grabbing assertion about Italian manufacturing in MotoGP. He defended Aprilia's place as a genuinely Italian factory, drawing a line between corporate ownership and cultural identity. That comment was less provocation than a statement of pride. Aprilia, he argued, retains an Italian soul and ambition, and the brand's renewed momentum deserves that recognition. I said it, yes. Aprilia is the only Italian manufacturer because Ducati is German, being owned by Audi. Whether you agree or not, the remark underlines Biaggi's role as both provocateur and staunch supporter of Noali's renaissance. Max Biaggi's Milan appearance mixed nostalgia, blunt observation, and big-picture thinking. From the vertigo of 470 km per hour to the strategic questions around Marquez's future, his comments reminded the paddock that MotoGP is part performance, part personality, and that identity, ambition and choice still drive the sport as much as horsepower. As Aprilia pushes forward with a lion on its fairing and new hopes on the grid, voices like Biaggi's will keep the conversation sharp and the storylines lively. Rossi frames 2026 less as a reset and more as a holding pattern. Manufacturers have limited ability to change current engines and are already developing the 2027 machines. That technical status makes early season results more about preparation, rider form and small setup gains than radical development. For teams, the challenge is to squeeze performance out of very similar hardware while keeping an eye on the big regulation changes coming next year. From a technical standpoint, little has changed. This is a transition season. All the manufacturers are already looking ahead to 2027 and are already working on new bikes. In short, expect familiar silhouettes on the grid, but don't expect the season to be boring. Stories still emerge from form, not just fresh parts. Rossi pointed to riders who underachieved in 2025 and suggested 2026 could be their chance to reset. Bagnaia's loss of form and Martin's injury-hit year are framed not as finished business but as open chapters. Both have the talent and experience to re-emerge quickly if they find confidence and a stable package. Rossi's optimism is cautious. He won't declare comebacks, but he knows MotoGP rewards those who can put the first few weekends together. Last year, there were some riders who underperformed compared to their potential, especially Pecco, but also Martín, for example. The message, keep an eye on familiar names, a few strong weekends, and narratives can pivot. Rossi set a clear brief for his own team. Franco Morbidelli and Fabio Di Giannantonio showed promise, but the task now is consistency. Perform across every weekend and every circuit rather than spike occasionally. That means better preparation, sharper setup choices and fewer crashes in the sprint-era format where Friday mistakes bite hard. For Rossi, converting regular points into regular podium bids is the most realistic route to closing the gap to the front. The goal is for everyone to work better and try to be competitive every weekend. A pragmatic race plan, reduce volatility, increase predictability, and let opportunity knock. Rossi emphasized the razor-thin nature of the modern grid. With many bikes broadly competitive, small differences flip a weekend from podium to points finish. That volatility is the real story of 2020 SIXS transition. Rider confidence, setup choices and a tiny tactical error can swing an entire event. Teams that build routines to hit the right window each weekend will be rewarded. Since everyone is so fast and so close, it takes just a moment to go from fighting for the podium to finishing 10th. The practical takeaway: focus on repeatability and readying the team to react quickly when things go off script. Valentino Rossi's verdict: 2026 may be a technical holding year, but it won't lack drama. Watch for resurgent stars, steady gains from teams who prioritize consistency, and the small margins that decide big outcomes. With Sepang preseason testing kicking off and the opener approaching, the next few weeks will show which riders make the most of a season of transition. Valera left no doubt about the hierarchy of targets for Acosta. The manager reiterated that while multiple possibilities exist, the rider's preference is to secure a factory drive, the competitive, resource-rich environment that most young stars aspire to. That priority shapes how negotiations are managed and which offers are taken seriously. Factory seats come first, and alternatives are backups rather than equal choices. Obviously, every rider aspires to go to the factory team, so that will be our first objective. In short, VR46 is interesting, but only after the factory boxes have been checked. Valera didn't rule out the VR46 link, far from it. He pointed to the competitive draw of Ducati and Aprilia as a logical reason why riders and managers keep their ears open. With Ducati widely viewed as a top package and VR46 able to offer a clear development pathway alongside manufacturer backing, the move would make tactical sense if a pure factory offer doesn't materialize. Is it a possibility? Yes. Ducati, along with Aprilia, has the best bike, so why not? That line frames VR46 not as consolation but as a credible plan B, a competitive environment that could still accelerate Acosta's career. Valera warned that the 2027 regulation reset will turbocharge movement in the rider market. With manufacturers about to start from scratch on new machines, decisions are likely to be driven not just by current performance, but by whom riders trust to design the next bike. That uncertainty, he suggested, will force quick choices early in the season, a fluid market where hesitation risks losing seats. I think the market will move quickly, and the fate of many riders will be known in the first few races. Expect a compressed transfer window. Teams and riders won't wait long to lock in relationships that promise the best 2027 platform. Perhaps the most strategic point Valera made is that riders will increasingly pick people over promises. With technical horizons uncertain, choosing the engineers, crew chiefs and project leads you trust could matter more than the immediate badge on your tank. For Acosta and others, that means evaluating the human team around any potential seat as a primary criterion. That will be the key, for each rider to choose the human capital they want to work with in 2027 and 2028. In other words, pick the people who will build a bike you can trust, not just the logo that looks best on paper. Acosta's options remain open. VR46 is a plausible path, but the first choice is a factory drive. With 2027 regulation changes looming and a rapid market expected, the next few races and conversations will be decisive. Watch how offers line up and which teams sell the strongest combination of machine and people. That will ultimately steer Acosta's choice. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!